over them. Sometimes they get up and walk around the facility and they see a military person. Very often they see other MyLabs walking around in smocks, hospital gowns. Sometimes MyLabs will describe being in tunnel systems, underground installations, and tram systems underground where the place is just teeming with other MyLabs, where they're all just like herded along, all zombied out and mind-controlled. Some with more awareness than others. Some retain an astonishing degree of awareness, MyLabs do, compared to others. Okay? And then they'll be herded onto trams and sent off to this place or that place. Also, I believe what happens is it's not only a physical thing. I believe that astrally, many of these MyLabs are taken in these mass MyLab settings, but they're really in astral form. I think that it's done to familiarize themselves, familiarize them with the installations. You see, our astral bodies are just as real as our physical bodies. I had an experience where there was this ET entity. It was so comical, the image this entity presented. It was a short, grayish-looking entity with a rumpled face, and I kid you not, it had like a nurse's hat on, and it had a crooked wig. Corny as it sounds, it's true. And I was laying on this table, and it was just like I was in a doctor's office. I was fussing. I didn't want this entity to mess with me, right? So it grabbed me in a place which I don't mention in order to subdue me. And then the moment I calmed down from that, it voff, injection right in my upper left bicep. And I remember getting off the table, walking outside of the clinic, and then I remember feeling the puncture wound on my left bicep with my index finger. It was real. Then the phone starts ringing in my bedroom, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm over in this other place feeling this puncture wound on my index finger, and yet the phone is ringing. So I'm either in two places at once or something weird is happening. So I woke up, answered the phone. It was an abductee friend of mine. Now, the long and the short of it was there was no longer any puncture wound on my left bicep, but the pain still lingered as if I really was injected. So that tells me that these entities, and also what abductees will describe as their astral bodies are taken out, medically experimented on. It's all density, frequency, and vibration. Remember, Tesla said with resonance, everything is possible. These entities, various entities, apparently understand this to a degree that boggles our mind. But anyway, these people will be taken astrally out of their bodies, medically experimented on, and in the same places their astral bodies were experimented on, they wake up with bruises on their physical bodies. So, I don't even try to explain that. I just know that it happens. So the point I'm making is the deep black elements of the military know that humans have this ethereal astral capability, and they utilize them as these astral operators, for lack of a better term.
I had another question related exactly to that. I understand there's government research along these lines in being able to extract a person's soul from their body, kind of like to create a zombie or whatnot, but that they've created some kind of electromagnetic containment or something, and they're able to contain a soul in a container.
Yeah, some kind of Faraday cage to retain the consciousness or the soul matrix.
And so do you think there's any relation to those kinds of things in relation to MyLabs? Of course, the whole mind control thing is one thing, but just in terms of the so-called secret government's soul research and what they're planning on doing with that?
That's what's troubling. I know that the deep black elements of the military have always strived to duplicate the capabilities of the aliens. Now, we know from discussions with many abductees that certain ET groups, the Greys and the Reptilians, have the ability. If you read the Ted Rice story, Ted Rice was another protege of Barbara Bartholik's. He describes being abducted, being given, he was a child at the time, given a potion to drink, and then basically killed him. And when he was in the process of dying, the entity somehow transferred his consciousness into a black box. They hooked up these wires from the black box to his body, made him drink this thing, basically killed him, and then they somehow pulled his consciousness into this black box. They then brought in a clone body of himself, and then they transferred that consciousness, his consciousness, into the clone body. And then, as a byproduct of that, all of the one-time childhood diseases you're only supposed to get once, chicken pox, what have you, he came down with them again. Okay, so
what year was that? About?
This is when Ted Rice was a kid. He's in his 50s now, so probably like in the 50s or the 60s or something. But in fact, his family was there when he was returned. He was returned by what appeared to be a tornado with all these lights coming out of it, and suddenly there he was when they'd been looking for him for hours. Okay, but the militaries always strive to duplicate the technology and the capabilities of the aliens. So I'm sure, in their own demented way, the deep black military is trying to do exactly what you're describing. Because you have to remember, these people aren't restrained by things like morals or scruples or what's right or what's wrong. I have to laugh when I hear people say, well, we have laws against human cloning. It'll never be done. Is that going to stop deep black elements of the military intelligence community who've already done radiation experiments and all horrendous things to people?
Yes, we have this awareness that we have these operatives around us, and so we can identify them. Is resistance futile?
No, that's kind of like the thing I finished up my talk with. I think that my labs are probably the best suited to survive the coming cataclysms because they've been trained to. I mean, some of the female my labs I know, you don't want to cross them. They're just pretty hardcore. But what's happening is a lot of these my labs are also, you have to understand that they go through guilt trips. I mean, if they have a clear memory of helping to call in artillery fire to wipe out people in the village, I mean, there's some my labs that are proud of that. There's some my labs at the fact that, yeah, I get to kill people, I'm an assassin. But there's many others who don't like how they're being used. They just don't have a choice in the matter. I don't know if I answered your question, but... Oh, no, that's about it. Yeah, thank you for sticking around. I appreciate it.
I haven't seen a single lecture the whole time, but this will be one of the first ones I watched.
Yeah, I'd like to get a hold of some of the other ones too, because I haven't seen any of them.
We'll probably get around to sending out a set to all you guys.
Oh, I can give you my